The work is not failing because nobody clapped. It is being tested because nobody clapped. That silence you keep taking personally is not always rejection. Sometimes it is the room where the real builder gets made. You post once and nothing moves. You work for a week and nobody asks about it. You make a promise to yourself and there is no witness. No crowd. No comment. No one standing at the door saying, "Keep going." And that is the moment most people start negotiating with the dream. They do not quit loudly. They just lower the standard when the room stays quiet. They stop finishing because nobody noticed the beginning. They stop practicing because nobody praised the effort. They stop building because silence started to feel like proof. But silence is not proof that the work is pointless. Silence is where the work becomes yours. You know what this feels like? You sit down to build something that could change your life. The page is open. The plan is clear enough. The task is not mysterious. But part of you keeps looking over your shoulder for confirmation. Did anyone notice? Did anyone like it? Did anyone ask how it is going? Did anyone make it feel real yet? And when the answer is no, your energy leaks. You start wondering if you picked the wrong thing. You start wondering if the timing is wrong. You start wondering if maybe you are not made for this. But be honest. Sometimes you are not looking for clarity. You are looking for applause before the work has earned a stage. You want the feeling of being recognized before you have survived the season of being unseen. That is a dangerous trade. Because if applause becomes the fuel, silence becomes a threat. If praise becomes the proof, quiet days start looking like failure. If the crowd becomes the reason, the crowd gets to own your discipline. And the few cannot build like that. The few do not hand the keys of their future to whoever happens to be watching. They learn how to work without witnesses. They learn how to finish when the room does not reward them. They learn how to treat a kept promise as evidence. Not the comment. Not the metric. Not the reaction. The promise. The private block. The hour protected. The rep completed. The draft finished while the world kept scrolling past them. That is where the identity starts to harden. Inside the forge, the strongest steel is not shaped in a theater. It is shaped in a room where only the hammer hears it. There is no audience for the first strike. There is no applause when the metal enters the fire. There is no celebration when the blacksmith lifts the hammer again, after the last strike did not finish the shape. There is heat. There is repetition. There is pressure. There is the sound of work landing against resistance. That is all. And that is enough. The steel does not become stronger because someone admires it early. It becomes stronger because it stays in the process long enough to be changed. This is the lesson you keep avoiding. The invisible season is not a delay in your story. It is part of the construction. It removes the weak reasons. It burns off performance. It exposes whether you love the identity or only the attention attached to it. Anybody can work harder when the room is clapping. Anybody can feel disciplined when the result is public. Anybody can look committed when the world is feeding them signals. But the forge does not measure you there. The forge measures you in the quiet block. The block where nobody knows whether you show up. The block where the old version of you can still negotiate. The block where the only receipt is the work itself. That is why this season feels so heavy. It is not just testing your skill. It is testing your reason. If your reason is attention, silence will starve it. If your reason is identity, silence will sharpen it. If your reason is freedom, silence will train it. Because a one-person empire cannot be built by someone who needs constant permission to continue. It needs someone who can hold a standard when nobody is watching. It needs someone who can keep the promise without turning it into a performance. It needs someone who can hear nothing from the world and still hear the hammer. Most people leave before the shape appears. They stop while the work still looks rough. They stop while the offer is still unclear. They stop while the channel is still small. They stop while the skill is still embarrassing. They stop while the routine still feels private. Then they call it a sign. It was not a sign. It was the silence asking if they were serious. So here is the turn. Stop asking who sees this. Ask, what proof did I create today? Not proof for the audience. Proof for the identity. Choose one private work block. 30 minutes if your life is crowded. 90 minutes if you can protect it. Make the block clean. No posting about it before. No explaining it during. No checking for validation after every small step. Put the phone away. Open the work. Finish the rep. If you are building content, write the rough piece before you check the feed. If you are building a business, sharpen the offer before you ask who liked your last post. If you are learning a skill, complete the practice before you look for a shortcut. If you are rebuilding your routine, keep the appointment before you announce the new version of you. When the work feels unseen, do not use that as permission to drift. Use it as training. Say to yourself, this is the room where the hammer hears it. Then strike again. The goal is not to become someone who never wants recognition. Recognition is not the enemy. Needing it too early is the enemy. Let the work mature before it asks for a witness. Let the promise become stable before it becomes public. Let the identity get heavy enough that silence cannot knock it over. For the next 24 hours, make one quiet receipt. One finished page. One recorded draft. One offer cleaned up. One workout completed. One block of deep work protected. One private promise kept without turning it into a performance. Do not wait for applause to tell you that it counted. The work counted because you kept it. The crowd is not the forge. The room is. The hour is. The promise is. The strike you make when nobody notices is not wasted. It is evidence. It is construction. It is the old version losing authority. So build where no one claps. Build where no one acts. Build where the only sound is the hammer meeting the metal. And when the world finally turns around, do not be surprised. You are already becoming undeniable in the quiet. The vow is simple. Today I do not need applause to keep my promise. I strike anyway.